As we all know by now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a need for a wing that can both space the floor and defend at a high level. The problem is that these types don't hit the market too often, and when they do, they can be quite expensive to acquire. Unless they're going to put together some type of trade package, they will have to allocate part or all of their MLE to addressing this need. A player who could potentially fit this need is Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig is exactly the type of player the Cavs could use in their current rotation. Listed at 6'7" and weighing in at around 220 pounds or so, he has true wing size, can defend multiple positions, and knock down the three ball when given the opportunity. Craig is currently part of a Phoenix Suns team that is fighting for their playoff lives against the Denver Nuggets. He will be entering unrestricted free agency after completing a 2-year pact with the Suns and could very realistically be an option for the Cavs. With that being said, let's take a look at what makes him an appealing option. Now this boils down to three things in my opinion. Number one is his catch and shoot ability. Now if you are simply looking at the fact that he averages 7.4 points, a career high by the way this season, you may not be moved. After all, Isaac Okoro isn't far behind with 6.4 points per game this season. However, this doesn't tell the whole story. Similar to Okoro, Craig shares the floor with a ton of talent. I mean, he started alongside Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul this season. So like Okoro, he is often the fifth option offensively when he's sharing the court with those phenomenal players, and rightfully so. Knowing your role on a team and accepting it can be the key to a very long career for many players. Torrey Craig is no different. He knows his role and he performs quite well in it. And right now, his role offensively most nights is to provide an outlet on the perimeter for the ball handlers to dish out to. In other words, he is a catch and shoot threat. His 6.3 attempts per game during the regular season was a career high. However, I look at his attempts in two separate instances. Prior to the acquisition of Kevin Durant, who didn't play his first game in Phoenix till March 1st, Craig was attempting 6.6 shots per game. And after that, those attempts dropped to 5.6. But the crazy thing is, the amount of triples he attempted never really changed. Not even the way in which he took them. From October 19th to February 28th, 3 of his 3.2 3-pointers per game were of the catch and shoot variety. And from March 1st through the end of the regular season, he attempted 3.1 triples per game, all of which were catch and shoot. But the best part, he knocked down a highly efficient 40% of these looks. He knows his role and doesn't stray far from it. The Cavs can use this ability 10 times over. Also, I could sit here and preach to you about gravity, but honestly the stats show that Craig didn't exactly face tight defense on these shots. Of his 254 total attempts, only 9 were tightly or very tightly contested. However, I don't think this matters as much if he is knocking them down regardless. That just means he is actually making the defense pay. And to me, the only difference, at least in this regard, that he has in relation to Isaac Okoro is that Craig isn't shy with his opportunities. If Okoro could keep that confidence and let it fly, you might see him experience more success as a 3-and-D wing. Number 2 is his ability to be a high-level defender. For as reliable a shooter as Craig is, that alone won't keep you in the rotation. The great thing is, Craig has managed to turn himself into quite the defender at the NBA level. He has earned the right to be labeled a 3-and-D wing. The counting stats won't show it, as he has a career average of just half a steal and 0.6 blocks, but he is a valuable player on the less glamorous end of the floor. Craig draws some tough defensive assignments when he's out there and has limited the likes of CJ McCollum to 8 of 19, Klay Thompson to 2 of 12, John Morant to 4 of 10, and Andrew Wiggins to 1 of 7. During the regular season, he limited the opposition to just 44.2% from the field. He spent the bulk of his time defending forwards and held them to a collective 44.1% from the field, but the thing that I loved the most when taking a deep dive was that he limited them to just 29 of 103 from long range. That's an ice cold 28.2%. And for a team like the Cavs, who often struggle to defend the 3-point line, this will be an excellent addition. Craig's 5.3 contested shots per game were more than any Cavalier not named Evan Mobley or Jared Allen. Adding him to one of, if not the league's best defensive unit, will make them even scarier. I can already imagine the defensive-centric lineups that JB Bickerstaff could use him in, which leads me to my next point. Number 3, versatility. Earlier on in his career, Torrey Craig almost exclusively suited up at the small forward, but after arriving in Phoenix, he was used as more of a small ball forward than anything. Take this season for instance, in which he lined up at power forward for 79% of his time compared to just 20% of his time at the 3. Craig has the strength to contend with 3s and 4s and the lateral quickness to keep up with guards on the defensive end, all the while spacing the floor by knocking down shots on the perimeter. He is the type of player the Cavs have struggled to find. Everyone they have tried either isn't a true 3 or has a serious flaw in one area or another. Craig would be able to slot in either off the bench or as a starter at the 3 and immediately be impactful. He would allow the Cavs to go small in a way that they haven't yet been afforded. Imagine a lineup of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Torrey Craig, and Evan Mobley. A very good balance of both offense and defense due to it featuring 3 very respectable shooters in Garland, Mitchell, and Craig, while also featuring 3 high-level defenders in Okoro, Craig, and Mobley. If the Cavs are unable to bring in multiple bodies to patch the holes on the wing and at backup big, Craig would be a nice middle ground due to his ability to fit in different areas. It's these kind of tantalizing lineup opportunities that should intrigue the Cavs enough to make some calls about him. He will be entering his age 33 season and would also give Cleveland another veteran presence who has been there and done that. Craig has 71 total playoff games under his belt. That experience could come in handy for a Cavs team fresh off of its first playoff appearance in 5 seasons.